You have already asked yourself for permission more times today than anyone around you will ever know. It happened in small ways. You looked at a message before sending it and imagined how it might be received. You softened a sentence that felt true because you did not want to sound difficult. You thought about something you wanted, then almost immediately began listing the people who might question it. You considered changing a plan, wearing something different, saying no, saying yes, beginning again, stepping away, speaking more clearly, asking for more, choosing less, and somewhere between the first honest impulse and the final decision, you searched for another person's face inside your mind. Would they approve? Would they understand? Would they think you were being selfish? Would they think you were changing too much? Would they still feel close to you if you stopped needing the same things you once needed? You may not have spoken any of those questions aloud. You may have smiled, handled your responsibilities, answered messages, finished what needed to be finished, and looked completely capable from the outside. Still, beneath the ordinary movement of the day, there may have been a private hesitation. A part of you kept checking the room before taking up your own space in it. You know this feeling. You are ready to say something, but you wait to see what everyone else says first. You know what you want to order, choose, wear, try, leave, begin, or decline, but you ask, "What do you think?" before you let yourself hear your own answer. Someone disagrees with you, and suddenly the certainty you felt a moment ago begins to dissolve. Someone is quiet, and you wonder whether you have done something wrong. Someone sounds disappointed, and your body treats their disappointment as evidence that you must have made a mistake. Someone does not immediately celebrate your choice, and you start editing the choice. This can happen so quickly that it does not even feel like waiting for permission. It can feel like being considerate. It can feel like being careful. It can feel like being responsible, polite, loyal, realistic, mature, or wise. Sometimes it is those things. Sometimes asking for advice is healthy. Sometimes another perspective protects us from moving too quickly. Sometimes people who love us can see what we cannot see. Sometimes a thoughtful pause is exactly what wisdom asks for. But there is a difference between seeking perspective and surrendering authorship. There is a difference between listening and disappearing. There is a difference between considering someone's feelings and treating their feelings as the final authority over your life. You have probably felt that difference before, even if you could not name it. Advice can leave you clearer. Permission seeking often leaves you smaller. Wise counsel can return you to yourself. Approval seeking can make you suspicious of your own inner voice. This is not a task you must complete today. You do not need to become bold on command. You do not need to make a dramatic announcement, confront anyone, resign from something, end a relationship, move across the world, or prove that you are independent. Nothing here is asking you to become reckless. Nothing here is asking you to stop caring what other people feel. Nothing here is asking you to turn your life into a demonstration of strength. You do not have to perform freedom. You do not have to prove that you no longer need reassurance. You do not have to force yourself to feel certain before certainty has arrived. There is no test hidden inside these words. If your life has taught you to move carefully, then care deserves respect. If your nervous system learned that harmony kept you safe, then that learning deserves compassion. If you became skilled at reading moods, anticipating reactions, minimizing your needs, or making yourself easy to approve of, those patterns did not appear because something was wrong with you. They formed for reasons. A mind learns from repetition. A body learns from atmosphere. A child learns from what brings closeness and what brings distance. A younger version of you may have learned that being agreeable made the room calmer. You may have learned that achievement brought praise. You may have learned that asking for too much created tension. You may have learned that expressing anger made other people withdraw. You may have learned that being good meant being convenient. You may have learned that certain dreams were welcomed while others were questioned. You may have learned that love felt warmer when you were easy to understand. None of this means anyone had to say, "You need my permission." The lesson can be much quieter than that. It can arrive through a raised eyebrow, a sigh, a delayed answer, a joke that lands like criticism, a compliment for being low maintenance. A family pattern where everyone checks with one strong personality before deciding. A relationship where peace depends on one person being pleased. A workplace where initiative is praised until it challenges the wrong person. A friendship where closeness feels secure as long as you do not change too quickly. A home where people love each other deeply but fear anything unfamiliar. Over time, the mind can begin to predict the cost of standing apart. It starts doing the calculation before you even ask. How much disapproval can I tolerate? How much explanation will this require? How many questions will come? Will they still think I am a good person? Will I regret disappointing them? What if they are right and I am wrong? What if I choose for myself and fail? What if I choose for myself and succeed? That last question can be surprisingly tender. Failure is not the only thing that can unsettle an approval-seeking pattern. Success can unsettle it too. Becoming more visible can change relationships. Growing into a new standard can make old agreements feel uncomfortable. Earning more, resting more, speaking more directly, needing less external validation, or choosing a path no one predicted can make you feel as though you have crossed an invisible line. So you wait. You wait for the person who doubted you to become enthusiastic. You wait for the person who is used to your availability to become comfortable with your boundary. You wait for the people who benefited from the older version of you to bless the newer one. You wait until no one can misunderstand. You wait until no one can criticize. You wait until the decision feels harmless to everyone. That is a very long wait. There are choices no one else can make safe for you. There are truths no amount of applause can turn into truth if you do not feel them as your own. There are seasons of growth where understanding may come later, or differently, or not from the people you expected. This does not make those people bad. It does not make you better than them. It means your inner life cannot always be governed by consensus. Think of how often you have already known. You knew you were tired before someone told you that you looked tired. You knew a conversation had crossed a line before anyone agreed with you. You knew you wanted to try something before you could defend it with a perfect reason. You knew a certain environment no longer fit before you had language for why. You knew you needed more space. You knew you needed more honesty. You knew you needed to stop pretending something was fine. Then the debate began. The debate often begins after the knowing. You gather evidence against yourself. You become a prosecutor in your own mind. You bring up every past mistake. You imagine every possible objection. You compare your desire to someone else's expectations. You look for proof that wanting something is reasonable enough to deserve action. You may even ask several people until you hear the answer that feels safest, then feel strangely disappointed because the decision still does not feel like yours. This is the hidden exhaustion of chronic permission seeking. It is not only the waiting. It is the constant translation of your inner life into language that other people will approve. You become your own public relations department. You rehearse, you explain, you justify, you soften, you add disclaimers to your desires. I know this might sound silly, but I probably won't do it, but it's not a big deal. I just thought I don't want anyone to be upset. Do you think it would be okay if sometimes you ask permission for things that belong entirely within your own adult responsibility? Rest, changing your mind, learning slowly, wanting privacy, taking time before answering, declining an invitation, enjoying your own company, trying a new interest without turning it into a career, spending your own free time differently, not explaining every personal decision, leaving a conversation that has become disrespectful, seeking help, taking your feelings seriously. You can be so accustomed to earning permission that even kindness toward yourself feels suspicious. Rest may feel deserved only after exhaustion. Joy may feel safest after everyone else is comfortable. Confidence may feel acceptable only after someone confirms that you are talented. A boundary may feel valid only after another person agrees that you have suffered enough. You can end up waiting for witnesses before you believe your own experience. This is the part people do not always say out loud. Being approved of can become a form of emotional shelter. When approval has represented connection, stepping outside it can feel like stepping outside warmth. That does not make you weak. It means belonging matters to you. Human beings are shaped in relationship. We learn language in relationship. We learn trust in relationship. We learn what is safe, expected, celebrated, criticized, welcomed, or discouraged in relationship. It would be strange if none of that affected the choices we make. The goal is not to become untouched by other people. The goal is to become less absent from yourself. There are people whose opinions deserve weight because they have earned your trust. There are experts whose knowledge matters in areas where expertise protects you. There are responsibilities that require discussion because your decisions affect more than you alone. There are commitments worth honoring. Self-permission is not the belief that only your feelings matter. It is the refusal to pretend your feelings do not matter at all. That distinction changes everything. It means you can listen without handing over the steering of your inner life. You can respect someone and still disagree. You can love someone and still choose differently. You can receive guidance without treating guidance as ownership. You can change your mind without turning the change into a confession. You can take your time without asking whether your pace is acceptable. You can say, "I need to think about that," and let the sentence stand. You can say, "That does not work for me," without producing a courtroom full of evidence. You can say, "I want something different," and let yourself hear the truth of it before anyone responds. For some people, these sentences sound ordinary. For you, one of them may feel enormous. That is useful information. The places where your voice trembles often reveal where old permission rules are still operating. It may happen with family. You become an adult, but your body still feels young when a parent disapproves. It may happen in love. You know a boundary is needed, but you fear that asking for it will make you difficult to love. It may happen at work. You have an idea, but you edit it so carefully that someone else eventually says the simpler version and receives the credit. It may happen with money. You know what you can responsibly afford or cannot afford, but you still feel embarrassed making a choice that does not match someone else's expectations. It may happen with your appearance. You choose what makes you comfortable, then change because you imagine how you will be evaluated. It may happen with healing. You feel better, then wonder whether you are allowed to stop explaining why you struggled in the first place. It may happen with grief. You have one good hour and feel guilty because someone you loved is gone. It may happen with growth. You begin to outgrow an identity that once protected you and then feel disloyal to the people who met you there. None of these experiences means your thoughts caused the painful things that happened to you. Your mind did not create another person's harmful behavior. Your beliefs did not manufacture every hardship. You did not think your way into deserving mistreatment, loss, illness, financial strain, or fear. Healing language should never be used to place blame on someone who has already carried too much. What our inner work can influence is the relationship you build with yourself now. That relationship can become more truthful, more compassionate, more grounded, more willing to include your own voice. There is a point in many lives when the question changes. At first, the question is, will they approve? Then slowly, another question begins to appear. Can I remain connected to myself even if they do not? That is a different kind of strength. It is quieter than rebellion. It does not need an audience. It does not need to make anyone wrong. It does not need to announce itself. It begins in private, in the few seconds between what you know and the old reflex to ask someone else what you should know. Those seconds matter. Imagine the next time you feel the impulse to send a message asking, "Do you think I should?" You can still send it if the advice would be useful. But before you do, you can ask yourself, what do I think? Not what should I think? Not what would make everyone comfortable. Not what answer will be easiest to defend. What do I think? At first, the answer may be quiet. Years of outsourcing inner authority can make your own voice sound unfamiliar. You may hear several voices at once. One voice says, "Be careful." One says, "Do not upset them." One says, "What if you regret it?" One says, "You have wanted this for a long time." One says, "You are tired." One says, "This is not right anymore." One says, "Give it more time." You do not have to silence any of them. Inner authority is not dictatorship. It is listening deeply enough to distinguish fear from wisdom, urgency from clarity, old conditioning from present reality. Fear often speaks in absolutes. Everyone will leave. Everything will fall apart. You will never recover. Wisdom tends to be more specific. This conversation is not respectful. This cost is beyond my budget. I need more information. I am not ready today. I am ready to begin. I need support. I need distance. I want to try. The clearer you become, the less dramatic inner guidance often sounds. It does not always arrive like a revelation. Sometimes it is a plain sentence that keeps returning. I do not want this anymore. I need help. I am ready. I am tired of explaining. I would like to see what happens if I choose differently. You may still feel afraid after hearing it. Fear does not automatically invalidate a decision. Comfort does not automatically make a decision wise. Approval does not automatically make a decision yours. Disapproval does not automatically make it wrong. There is a maturity in learning to hold complexity. You can be nervous and clear. You can love someone and disappoint them. You sigh and be uncertain and still take one responsible step. You can ask for counsel and keep your agency. You can move slowly and still be moving. You can make a choice, learn from it, and choose again. Your life does not require perfect certainty from you. It asks for participation. That may be one of the hardest truths for someone who has spent years trying to avoid mistakes. If you wait until every meaningful choice is approved by everyone who matters to you, you may avoid some conflict, but you may also avoid your own life. There are people who will love you and still not understand every decision. There are people who will need time to adjust to your boundaries. There are people who may prefer the version of you who asked more often, explained more carefully, yielded more quickly, and made fewer demands. Their preference is information. It is not a verdict. You are allowed to learn what happens when you stop using discomfort as proof that you are wrong. Discomfort can mean many things. It can mean danger. It can mean growth. It can mean unfamiliarity. It can mean grief. It can mean an old pattern has been interrupted. It can mean you need more information. It can mean you are standing near a truth you have postponed. Part of self-trust is becoming curious enough to tell the difference. This is why no one is asking you to rush. A person who has waited for permission does not need another voice commanding them to hurry. You have had enough commands. What you need is room to hear yourself. You need a kind of inner space where your first honest response is not immediately cross-examined. You need to discover that a desire can be considered before it is defended. You need to know that a boundary can be valid before another person likes it. You need to know that uncertainty can be held without turning it into obedience. You need to know that care for others does not require erasing care for yourself. My dear, there is nothing selfish about becoming present in your own decisions. Selfishness ignores the humanity of others. Self-presence includes your own humanity too. That is a very different thing. You can ask, how will this affect them? And also ask, how will this affect me? You can ask, what do I owe this commitment? And also ask, what do I owe my well-being? You can ask, is this kind? And also ask, is this true? You can ask, am I being fair? And also ask, am I disappearing? These questions do not guarantee an easy answer. They create an honest one. There is another layer beneath permission-seeking that deserves tenderness. Sometimes you are not waiting for someone to approve the choice. You are waiting for someone to approve you. That is deeper. You want the decision to become evidence that you are still good, still lovable, still loyal, still intelligent, still safe to be close to, still the person they thought you were. When identity becomes tied to approval, choosing differently can feel like losing a home inside another person's mind. You may think, if I change, who will I become to them? That question can keep a person frozen for years. Yet there is a quieter question underneath it. Who will I become to myself if I never change? There is no accusation in that question, only honesty. What happens to your inner life when you repeatedly receive a clear message from yourself and repeatedly send it away for external review? What happens when every dream needs a committee? What happens when every no requires a defense? What happens when every yes waits for applause? Over time, your own signals can become faint. Not because they are gone, because they have been interrupted. The good news is that interruption can change. Inner listening is a relationship, and relationships can be rebuilt. You do not rebuild it by making every decision alone. You rebuild it by including yourself before the decision is finished. You give your own perception a seat at the table. You let your feelings speak without making them the only voice. You let your values speak. You let facts speak. You let wise counsel speak. You let consequences speak. Then you decide from a fuller place. This is what adult self-trust can look like. Not certainty, not defiance. Integration. You are not choosing between being independent and being connected. You are learning connection without self-erasure. You are learning care without obedience. You are learning openness without surrendering your center. You are learning to ask for advice without secretly asking someone else to carry the emotional weight of your decision. That last shift is powerful. If another person chooses for you, then part of you may feel protected from regret. If it goes badly, you can say, "They told me to." If it goes well, you can still wonder whether you could have trusted yourself. Taking ownership feels riskier because ownership includes the possibility of being imperfect. You will make choices you later revise. Everyone does. You will misunderstand something. You will occasionally move too soon or wait too long. You will sometimes ask the wrong person. You will sometimes ignore good advice. You will sometimes confuse fear with intuition or intuition with fear. Self-trust does not mean becoming incapable of error. It means becoming capable of staying in relationship with yourself through error. It means learning instead of exiling yourself. It means correcting without humiliation. It means saying, "I know more now," instead of, "I should never trust myself again." That is how confidence becomes durable, not by never being wrong, by no longer treating one wrong turn as proof that you do not deserve a voice. You have probably already survived choices you regret. Look at what that means. You learned, you adjusted, you carried consequences, you asked for help, you became more discerning. You are not standing at the beginning of life with no evidence of your capacity. You have history, you have pattern recognition, you have values, you have scars that taught you what not to ignore. You have moments you are proud of. You have moments you would handle differently. All of that belongs to your inner authority. The part of you that waits for permission often forgets this. It imagines everyone else has clearer judgment. Everyone else knows the right time. Everyone else understands the rules. Everyone else received a handbook you somehow missed. Look more closely. People are improvising. People are learning. People are deciding with incomplete information. People are changing their minds. People are asking for help. People are brave in one area and uncertain in another. The person whose confidence impresses you may still have places where they hesitate. The person whose approval feels powerful may be making choices they do not fully understand themselves. No human being has been appointed the final authority over your worth. That is the open space in front of you. Not a command to run, a space. A place where your own adulthood can begin to feel real inside you, not only on paper, not only in responsibilities, not only in the way other people depend on you. There is a younger part of many adults that still expects someone older to arrive and say, "Yes, now you may. Now you may rest. Now you may begin. Now you may stop. Now you may choose differently. Now you may trust what you know. Now you may become someone your past did not predict." That younger part is not foolish. It is faithful to an old arrangement. It learned that permission came from outside. It learned to look toward larger hands. It learned to wait for a sign of safety before reaching. This is where our central image begins. Picture a single candle flame, not a dramatic blaze, not something that fills an entire room. One steady flame, small enough to hold close. See your grown hands around it. They know how to protect warmth without crushing it. They know that a flame, it does not need to be argued into existence. It is already lit. Now imagine, just beneath those hands, a smaller pair of cupped hands. They belong to the younger place inside you that learned to wait. Those hands are not empty because they failed. They are open because they were taught that light would be handed down from somewhere else. For years they may have reached outward, toward approval, toward praise, toward reassurance, toward the nod that meant yes, toward the expression that meant you were safe to continue. The flame was never absent. It was in your grown hands all along. The movement ahead is not about creating a new light. It is about turning toward the smaller hands within you and beginning at last to pass the warmth inward. You do not have to force that movement. The smaller hands do not need to be grabbed, corrected, or hurried. They have waited a long time. They have learned to watch expressions before reaching. They have learned to test the temperature of a room before speaking. They have learned to hold back desire until somebody else makes it seem reasonable. They have learned to keep their palms open toward the outside world because somewhere along the way, approval became confused with light. So the first movement is not dramatic. Your grown hands turn inward. That is all. The flame comes closer. Its warmth reaches places that have spent years expecting warmth to arrive through someone else. You can picture the small glow touching the edges of those waiting hands. Not enough to overwhelm them. Not enough to demand anything from them. Only enough for them to discover something they may have forgotten. They can receive from you. There is a difference between receiving permission from the world and receiving reassurance from within. The world may give permission inconsistently. One person approves today and doubts tomorrow. Someone praises the version of you that serves them and resists the version that grows beyond an old arrangement. A person may support one dream and question another. A room may welcome your confidence until your confidence changes the role people expect you to play. External approval can move with circumstance. The flame in your own hands represents something steadier, not certainty about every decision, not the belief that you are always correct, something more useful, the willingness to remain present while you decide. That is where self-trust begins. Not with, I always know, with, I am willing to listen. Not with, no one can tell me anything. With, I can hear advice without disappearing beneath it. Not with, I no longer care what anyone thinks. With, what they think is P. Art of the information, not the whole of my identity. These distinctions matter because a wounded understanding of independence can become another prison. You do not need to become hard in order to become self-led. You do not need to stop needing people. You do not need to pretend that rejection never hurts. You do not need to turn tenderness into armor. The candle teaches something different. A flame is strong because it can remain itself while giving light. It does not become the hands around it. It does not become the room. It does not argue with darkness. It burns according to its nature. Your inner authority can be like that, present, responsive, warm, clear enough to be felt. There have probably been moments when you already lived this way without naming it. A situation arose and you knew what mattered. Someone needed you and you responded. Something was wrong and you spoke. A choice had to be made, and although you were uncertain, you made it. You did not wait for complete confidence. You acted from what you knew at the time. Later, you may have forgotten those moments because the mind often remembers hesitation more vividly than quiet competence. But your history contains evidence. You have carried yourself through days no one prepared you for. You have solved problems without perfect instructions. You have learned from consequences. You have changed course. You have discovered that some fears were useful warnings and others were old echoes. You have become more discerning than the younger part of you knows. That smaller part may still look upward, expecting somebody else to decide when you are ready. Your grown hands know something different. Readiness is rarely delivered as a certificate. Sometimes readiness is the willingness to take one honest step while your heart is still uncertain. Sometimes readiness means admitting that you need more time. Sometimes it means asking for help before making a decision. Sometimes it means accepting that the answer you wanted from another person is not coming. Sometimes it means recognizing that their hesitation belongs to them. This is where people often become confused. They think self-permission means moving regardless of consequences. It does not. A candle still has to be tended. You do not place a flame carelessly. You consider what surrounds it. You protect what could be harmed. You respect its power. You pay attention. In the same way, trusting yourself includes responsibility. If your choice affects children, partners, colleagues, finances, health, safety, or legal obligations, those realities matter. Self-trust does not erase facts. It helps you face facts without erasing yourself. You can say, "This is what I want," and then ask, "What will it require?" You can say, "This situation is hurting me," and then seek safe support. You can say, "I want to leave," and still make a careful plan. You can say, "I want to begin," and still learn what you need to learn. You can say, "I am not ready," without turning that sentence into permanent defeat. You can respect the flame without hiding it. The deeper lesson is that permission and preparation are not the same thing. You may need preparation. You may need information. You may need resources. You may need professional guidance. You may need time. You may need a difficult conversation. You may need practical support. What you do not always need is emotional authorization from everyone who has an opinion. That difference can free enormous energy. Think about how much mental effort goes into trying to secure a unanimous vote. You predict objections. You compose answers. You rehearse explanations. You imagine conversations that have not happened. You try to make your decision so airtight that no one could reasonably question it. Then someone questions it anyway. Of course they do. People see life through their own histories. The person who values stability may question your change. The person who fears risk may emphasize danger. The person who regrets not taking chances may push you too quickly. The person who has benefited from your flexibility may dislike your new boundary. The person who loves you may worry because they cannot guarantee your outcome. Most advice contains some mixture of care, fear, wisdom, projection, experience, preference, and personal history. That does not make advice useless. It means you have to hold the candle while you listen. You do not set your flame on the table and say, "Tell me whether I am permitted to carry this." You hold it. You listen. You decide what belongs. This is one of the quietest forms of adulthood. It is not dramatic enough to photograph. It will rarely earn applause. No one may know that a major change has happened. You simply stop asking questions you already know are not really questions. You stop saying, "Is it okay if I rest?" when what you mean is, "Please tell me I have suffered enough to deserve rest." You stop saying, "Do you think I am overreacting?" when what you mean is, "Please tell me my experience counts." You stop saying, "Would it be selfish if I said no?" when what you mean is, "Please promise that setting this boundary will not change how anyone sees me." You stop asking another person to remove every emotional consequence from being honest. That is impossible. Honesty can disappoint people. Boundaries can frustrate people. Growth can confuse people. A change in your availability may force someone else to change too. You cannot guarantee that everyone will remain comfortable. You can care about their feelings without making comfort the price of your integrity. Here is something rarely acknowledged. Sometimes the hardest permission to give yourself is permission to be misunderstood, not hated, not rejected, simply misunderstood. Someone may hear your no and think you are distant. Someone may see you rest and think you are less ambitious. Someone may watch you change and think you are inconsistent. Someone may see you protect your time and think you have become different. They may be right about one thing. You are different. Different does not automatically mean worse. Growth often looks unfamiliar before it looks natural. The smaller hands inside you may tremble at that thought because they learned that being accurately understood was part of staying connected. They may believe they must explain until everyone agrees. You can bring the flame closer. You can let warmth answer before words do. You can say inwardly, I know why I chose this. That sentence may be enough for this moment. There is no requirement to make it enough forever. You can revise. You can learn. You can apologize when an apology is appropriate. You can repair harm you caused. You can receive feedback. Self-trust is not immunity from accountability. In fact, real self-trust can make accountability easier because you no longer need every mistake to mean that you are fundamentally unworthy. You can say, I handled that poorly, without collapsing into, I should never trust myself. You can say, I need to correct this, without surrendering your entire identity. A candle can be adjusted without being extinguished. That is the teaching. Correction is not extinction. Feedback is not extinction. Disagreement is not extinction. Uncertainty is not extinction. A mistake is not extinction. Someone's disappointment is not extinction. The light remains. This is important because approval seeking often carries a hidden belief. If I am wrong, I lose my right to choose. No. Being wrong is part of being human. Learning is part of choosing. Changing your mind can be evidence of intelligence, not weakness. You are permitted to become wiser than the person who made yesterday's decision. You are permitted to say, I understand this differently now. You are permitted to discover that what once fit no longer fits. You are permitted to update your life. The flame you hold today is not required to illuminate the exact same path it illuminated years ago. You have new information. You have new experiences. You have new responsibilities. You may have new limits. You may have new hopes. There are decisions you made in order to survive a former chapter that do not need to govern the chapter in front of you. This does not dishonor who you were. It completes the work they began. The younger part of you did what it could with the light available then. Now your grown hands hold more perspective, more language, more evidence, more choice, more access to support, more understanding of your own patterns. The compassionate response is not to criticize those smaller hands for waiting. It is to give them what they were waiting for: warmth, recognition, a place inside you where their experience counts. Consider a child holding out cupped hands towards someone they trust. There is innocence in that gesture, expectation, hope, the belief that something needed will be placed there. The child does not know yet that adulthood will eventually ask those hands to give as well as receive. Your inner life can become stuck around that transition. A part of you keeps waiting for a parent, partner, authority figure, mentor, friend, audience, institution, or imagined future version of yourself to finally say the sentence that unlocks everything. You are ready now. You are good enough now. You may choose now. You may begin now. You may stop now. You may want what you want. You may become who you are becoming. What if the grown version of you is the one who can offer that recognition? Not because you possess perfect wisdom, because you are the person who is here. You are the one living this life. You are the one who feels what happens inside your body when you continue something that no longer fits. You are the one who carries the cost of constant explanation. You are the one who wakes with your thoughts. You are the one who lives with the consequences. Others can accompany you. Others can advise you. Others can love you. Others can support your safety. But no one else can occupy your inner life for you. This is why turning the flame inward matters. It changes the direction of your search. The search does not disappear overnight. Your eyes may still lift toward other people. You may still want reassurance. You may still ask, "Was that okay?" You may still feel relief when someone you respect agrees with you. There is no need to shame those responses. The movement is subtler. Before reaching outward, you begin checking inward. Before asking, "What do they think?" you make room for, "What do I know?" Before asking, "Will they approve?" you consider, "Does this align with what matters to me?" Before asking, "Can I do that?" is you ask, "What would doing this responsibly require?" One question gives authority away. The other brings responsibility home. And here is where the flame becomes more than a comforting image. It becomes a way of understanding the difference between forcing and allowing. Forcing says, "I must become fearless immediately." Tending says, "I can protect what is becoming clearer." Forcing says, "I need to make the biggest possible move to prove I have changed." Tending says, "I can take the next truthful step." Forcing says, "I should not care what anyone thinks." Tending says, I can care without surrendering myself. Forcing says, I need certainty. Tending says, I need enough clarity for this step. Forcing burns through you. Tending warms you. There are moments when people mistake intensity for transformation. They make a declaration. They cut off every source of disagreement. They promise never to doubt again. They try to become a new person in an afternoon. Then ordinary life returns. Old fears return. The body remembers old habits. A familiar person asks a familiar question, and suddenly the new declaration feels far away. This does not mean transformation failed. It means the flame needs tending. Inner authority becomes trustworthy through repetition. You choose once, then again in another situation. You speak honestly. You survive someone's discomfort. You set a boundary. You discover the world did not disappear. You ask for help. You learn that help does not cancel autonomy. You change your mind. You discover that revision does not erase dignity. You make one decision without polling everyone. Your body learns something new. It learns that you can carry the flame. That is how a new relationship with yourself is built. Not through a single perfect breakthrough, through many moments of returning the light to your own hands. Some of those moments will seem almost too small to matter. You decide what you want before reading reviews. You leave a message unanswered until you have the energy to respond thoughtfully. You stop apologizing for taking a reasonable amount of time. You wear something because you like it. You express an opinion without immediately weakening it. You decline something without inventing an emergency. You accept a compliment without arguing. You admit that you want more. You admit that you want less. You let yourself be undecided. You change your plan because new information arrived. You ask a qualified person for help without interpreting that need as failure. Each of these can be a small transfer of flame. Grown hands, smaller hands, warmth moving inward. The image matters because many people try to build self-trust through criticism. They say, "Why am I still like this? Why do I need everyone's approval? I should be stronger by now. I am too old to care this much." Those sentences place the smaller hands back in the cold. Shame does not teach them to receive. Shame teaches them to hide. If the younger part of you expects rejection whenever it needs reassurance, it may continue seeking reassurance in secret. Compassion changes the lesson. You can say, "Of course this is difficult." You can say, "I learned this for a reason." You can say, "I do not need to hate the old pattern in order to outgrow it." That is warmth. And warmth makes movement possible. There is a moment, sometimes very quiet, when a person begins to realize that permission was never going to arrive in the form they imagined. The parent may never fully understand. The partner may not know how to reassure them. The friend may have their own fears. The boss may never notice. The audience may keep changing its opinion. The world may not send a ceremonial sign. Then something inside turns, not away from everyone, toward yourself. You stop asking the outside world to perform a role it cannot reliably perform. You become less interested in obtaining a permanent guarantee that your life will make sense to other people. You become more interested in whether your choices are honest, responsible, and aligned with the person you are becoming. This is not selfishness. This is participation. You were not given a life so that you could spend all of it waiting in the hallway of somebody else's approval. There is something you are here to inhabit, your own attention, your own values, your own capacity to learn, your own ability to seek wise support and still remain the person deciding what that support means. The candle is close now. Imagine the warmth reaching the smaller fingertips. The hands that once waited are beginning to feel what they had been searching for. Not applause, not certainty, presence, your presence. This is the moment for the first affirmation. Do not use it as a command. Do not try to make yourself believe more than you believe. Let it be an offering placed near those waiting hands. I trust the light in my own hands, and I am ready to move. You may feel resistance to the word trust. That is understandable. Trust can sound enormous when you have spent years questioning yourself. You do not need to turn it into certainty. Trust can mean that you will listen before abandoning your own perspective. Trust can mean that you will take your feelings seriously enough to examine them. Trust can mean that you will check information without treating yourself as incapable. Trust can mean that you will stop demanding perfection as the entry price for making a choice. Let the sentence come closer. I trust the light in my own hands, and I am ready to move. More softly now, as though you are speaking to the smaller hands, rather than performing confidence for the world. I trust the light in my own hands, and I am ready to move. Ready does not mean fearless. Ready does not mean fully healed. Ready does not mean everyone agrees. Ready does not mean the road ahead has no uncertainty. Ready can mean that you are no longer willing to make external approval the only doorway through which your life may pass. You can move with questions. You can move thoughtfully. You can move with support. You can move slowly. You can move by changing one sentence. You can move by making one phone call. You can move by postponing a decision until you have enough information. You can move by choosing not to explain. You can move by asking for professional guidance. You can move by telling the truth to yourself before telling it to anyone else. Movement is not always visible. Sometimes the first movement is the moment your own answer is finally included. Think of the smaller hands again. They have spent years facing outward. That posture became familiar. Even now, as the warmth approaches, some part of them may hesitate. Receiving from yourself can feel strange when receiving from others has been the old measure of safety. The hands may open, then pull back. They may wonder whether they are allowed to take the flame. There is a tenderness in that hesitation. No one needs to scold it. Your grown hands remain steady, not forcing, not withdrawing, holding the light close enough to be felt. The lesson does not need to be shouted. It can be learned through contact. You are here. The warmth is here. The smaller hands are here. Nothing has to be earned before the transfer begins. And the next question is not whether those smaller hands deserve the light. The deeper question is what they have been afraid would happen if they finally accepted it. Because receiving your own permission changes more than a decision. It changes the old arrangement. The smaller hands may have learned that reaching outward kept connection intact. They may have learned that waiting made them good. That hesitation prevented conflict. That asking first kept disappointment away. That being easy to approve made love feel more predictable. If those hands finally close around the warmth you are offering, part of you may wonder what happens next. Who will you disappoint? Who will call you different? Who will ask why you did not discuss it with them first? Who might feel less needed if you stop asking them to decide what you already know? Who might become uncomfortable if you speak without wrapping every truth in an apology? These fears deserve to be heard because they are not foolish fears. Relationships have patterns. Families have patterns. Workplaces have patterns. Friendships have patterns. When one person changes the pattern, other people sometimes feel the movement. A person who is used to hearing you say yes may need time to understand your no. A person who is used to being consulted about every decision may notice when you begin making ordinary choices without asking. Someone who knows you as endlessly flexible may be surprised when you become more specific. Someone who has depended on your silence may react when you begin speaking. That reaction does not automatically mean you are doing something wrong. It also does not automatically mean they are doing something wrong. Change creates information. You get to look at that information carefully. You can ask whether a relationship has enough space for both people to grow. You can ask whether disagreement is safe. You can ask whether your boundary is being heard or punished. You can ask whether you are expressing yourself responsibly. You can ask whether fear is asking you to return to a role that no longer fits. You can keep the flame in your hands while you ask. This is important. Self-trust is not replacing everyone else's authority with your fear. It is not saying, whatever I feel in the first second must be true. Feelings carry information, but they are not always complete instructions. Fear can speak from memory. Anger can reveal a boundary and still need time before action. Excitement can reveal desire and still need practical thought. Grief can make the future look smaller than it is. Loneliness can make an old door look safer than it was. Self-trust means you can listen to your emotions without becoming ruled by every emotional wave. You can hold the candle steady enough to see. That steadiness may be new. Some people have lived between two extremes for years. Either they surrender their decisions to someone else, or they make choices in a burst of frustration because they are tired of surrendering. Either they explain everything, or they disappear without explanation. Either they tolerate too much, or they cut everything off. Either they ask everyone, or they refuse all advice. These extremes can come from the same wound, a fear that there is no safe middle. But there is a middle. You can be clear without being cruel. You can be firm without becoming cold. You can consult someone without making them your ruler. You can decide without turning the decision into rebellion. You can leave room for feedback without reopening every choice indefinitely. You can change your mind because you learned something, not because someone looked disappointed. This is what those smaller hands are learning as they feel the warmth. The flame does not shout. It does not threaten. It does not say, choose now or lose everything. It stays present. A steady source of light gives you room to see what is actually there. That is the kind of relationship you can begin to offer yourself. Not pressure, presence. There may still be a part of you that resists the affirmation you have heard. I trust the light in my own hands, and I am ready to move. The resistance may not object to the word light. It may object to trust. Trust can feel dangerous if your history contains choices that hurt. You may remember a time you believed someone who was not honest with you. You may remember staying too long, leaving too quickly, spending something you wish you had saved, ignoring advice you later understood, following advice you later regretted, choosing a person, path, job, commitment, or opportunity that did not become what you hoped. The mind can collect these memories and place them before you as evidence. See, you cannot be trusted. Look what happened. Do not decide. Wait. Ask someone else. Let them be responsible. But look more carefully at the evidence. Did you truly have the information then that you have now? Did you know what you know today? Were you choosing freely, or were you under pressure? Were you trying to survive? Were you exhausted? Were you afraid? Were you responding to circumstances that have since changed? Did someone mislead you? Did you ignore yourself? Or did you simply make the best decision you could with incomplete information? Sometimes you did ignore yourself. That deserves honesty too. Perhaps a quiet part of you knew something and you talked yourself out of listening. Perhaps you were so hungry for another person's approval that you discounted what you could already see. Perhaps you accepted a situation because being chosen felt more urgent than being respected. Perhaps you agreed because saying no felt dangerous. If so, the lesson is not that you should trust yourself less. It may be that the lesson is to listen to yourself sooner. That distinction matters. You do not heal self-doubt by using your past mistakes as permanent evidence against your future. You learn from them. You let them sharpen discernment. You let experience add light. A flame does not become less useful because why? Thou once carried it into the wrong room. You learn where warmth belongs. You learn what needs distance. You learn what deserves another look. You learn what requires help. There are forms of wisdom that cannot be borrowed. Another person can tell you what happened to them. They can tell you what they would do. They can share expertise. They can help you identify risk. They can show you options. But eventually, your life still asks you to participate. That participation may begin with a very modest sentence. If you cannot believe it yet, say only, I am willing to trust myself a little more than I did yesterday. Willingness is enough for this moment. You do not have to leap from doubt into complete confidence. You can move 1 degree. You can let one decision remain yours. You can give one feeling serious consideration. You can let one no stand without decorating it. You can let one yes belong to you. You can choose one conversation where you do not over-explain. You can wait before asking someone else what you should think. That is movement. The old pattern may protest. You may feel guilty. Guilt can appear when you break a rule that was never written down. A family rule, a relationship rule, a rule inherited from childhood. Keep everyone comfortable. Do not be difficult. Do not ask for too much. Do not change faster than the people around you. Do not become more visible. Do not earn more than someone expects. Do not rest while others are working. Do not choose a life they would not choose. Do not say no unless you can prove you are exhausted. Do not trust yourself until someone more confident agrees. Rules like these can live in the body long after the original environment has changed. You can violate an old rule and feel guilty even when you have done nothing unkind. That guilt does not always mean stop. Sometimes it means an old agreement is losing authority. You can examine it. Is there actual harm here? Did I break a commitment? Did I act dishonestly? Did I neglect a responsibility? Do I owe repair? Or did I simply make a choice someone else would not make? These questions separate conscience from conditioning. Conscience helps you live according to your values. Conditioning often asks you to live according to somebody else's comfort. They can feel similar inside the body. This is why patience matters. You are learning a language that may once have been discouraged, the language of preference, the language of limit, the language of enough, the language of desire, the language of change. You may have been fluent in everyone else. What do they need? How are they feeling? What will make the gods is easier for them? What answer are they hoping to hear? What would keep the peace? Those are valuable forms of awareness when they are balanced. Empathy is beautiful. Consideration is beautiful. Generosity is beautiful. But empathy without self-inclusion can become self-erasure. Consideration without limits can become resentment. Generosity without choice can become depletion. The flame teaches balance. There is warmth for others and warmth for you. Light can be shared without being surrendered. You do not need to extinguish yourself to prove that you care. This is where a deeper form of permission begins. Permission to have an inner life that does not need to be publicly defended. You can have thoughts you are still forming. You can keep a new hope private while it becomes stronger. You can take time before announcing a plan. You can protect something tender from too many opinions. You can seek the right advice rather than the most available advice. You can let your own voice become audible before inviting the whole room in. This is not secrecy born from shame. It is stewardship. A flame newly passed into smaller hands does not need a crowd leaning over it. It needs protection from unnecessary wind. There are parts of your growth that benefit from quiet, not because they are wrong, because they are new. You may have experienced what happens when you share something too early. A desire appears. You feel hopeful. You tell someone whose first instinct is to point out every obstacle. They may think they are protecting you. They may genuinely care. But afterward, the desire feels smaller. You begin defending it before you have even explored it. You start carrying their fear inside your own imagination. There are times when wise feedback is necessary. There are also times when your first responsibility is to let the flame become steady enough that another person's uncertainty does not extinguish your curiosity. You are allowed to know the difference. The smaller hands are learning that too. They do not have to hold the flame out for inspection. They can cup it. They can feel its warmth. They can become familiar with carrying something that belongs to them. Think about what changes when your inner life is no longer constantly presented for review. Your energy changes. You stop spending so much time preparing defenses. Your decisions can become slower in the healthy sense and faster in another sense. Slower because you are actually listening. Faster because you are no longer trying to satisfy 10 imaginary judges. You may discover how exhausting approval seeking has been. Not only emotionally, physically, the tight J all before saying no. The shoulders that lift when someone sounds displeased. The stomach that contracts when you send an honest message. The hands that reach for the phone to see whether everything is okay. The mind that reopens a conversation after midnight and searches for the sentence that might have changed the outcome. Your body can begin learning that disagreement is not always danger, that someone needing time does not automatically mean rejection, that silence does not always mean punishment, that a delayed reply does not define your worth, that another person's mood can belong to them. This learning may take time. No affirmation should be used to bully your body out of what it learned through experience. You do not say, "I trust myself," and demand that every old response disappear. You offer the sentence like warmth. You let the body gather new evidence. I made a choice and remained safe. I said no and survived the discomfort. I asked for support and was treated with respect. I listened to my concern and learned something important. I changed my mind and the world kept moving. I disappointed someone and still remained worthy of care. I set a limit and discovered who could respect it. New evidence matters. It helps the smaller hands understand that the present is not always the past. There is another truth that belongs here, especially when talking about peace, self-trust, and inner healing. Peace does not mean remaining where you are being harmed. Self-love does not require tolerating abuse, coercion, threats, manipulation, or repeated disrespect. Forgiveness, if it has meaning for you, does not require renewed access. Compassion does not erase boundaries. A calm mind is not a substitute for safety. There are situations where the wisest expression of self-trust is asking for help. A trusted friend, a supportive family member, a community resource, a qualified medical or mental health professional, a financial or legal professional when the issue belongs in those areas. A local support service when safety is involved. Reaching for appropriate support does not mean you have failed to trust yourself. It can mean you trust yourself enough to stop carrying something alone. Affirmations can support reflection and emotional well-being, but they are not replacements for professional care, practical guidance, or protection when those things are needed. The flame in your hands is not a demand to solve everything by yourself. It is a reminder that your safety matters enough to seek what helps. Your boundaries matter enough to protect. Your well-being matters enough to take seriously. Sometimes the bravest self-permission sounds like, "I need support." Sometimes it sounds like, "I am leaving." Sometimes, "I need more information before I decide." Sometimes, "I am not discussing this while I am being spoken to this way." Sometimes, "I want another opinion." Sometimes, "I cannot carry this alone." There is no weakness in using the resources available to you. A flame survives because it is tended wisely. You can tend yours wisely too. there is something else the smaller hands may fear. Not only rejection, responsibility. If you stop waiting for permission, then your choices begin to feel more fully yours. That can be frightening. When you choose, you cannot always hide behind someone else's certainty. You may succeed, you may struggle, you may need to revise. You may discover that what you wanted was not what you needed. You may discover something better. Responsibility can feel heavy until you realize it also contains freedom. If the choice is yours, learning can be yours. Growth can be yours. Correction can be yours. The next decision can be yours too. You are not sentencing yourself to one permanent answer. You are entering a relationship with choice. Life is not asking you to predict everything. It is asking you to respond to what becomes known. This is what mature self-permission protects. Your right to respond, your right to learn, your right to say, "This looked right then, I see it differently now." Your right to say, "I need to stop." Your right to say, "I am ready to continue." Your right to take responsibility without turning responsibility into self-punishment. Somewhere inside, the smaller hands begin to understand. The flame does not mean they must know the entire future. It means they no longer have to sit in darkness while waiting for someone else to arrive. That is the answer hidden inside the first question. You were not waiting because your life lacked permission. You were waiting because you had learned to look for permission in other hands. You looked for it in praise, in agreement, in reassurance, in someone else saying, "I think you should," in someone else seeing your potential before you trusted it, in someone else recognizing your pain before you let yourself respond to it, in someone else confirming that your boundary was reasonable. The permission did not fail to arrive because you were unworthy. You were searching in a place that could never offer permanent supply. Other hands can encourage you. Other hands can help you. Other hands can steady you. Other hands can hold yours. But they cannot become your inner authority. The grown hands holding this flame have always belonged to you. That is the first loop closing, not with a grand revelation, with recognition. The approval you wanted may still feel good. You do not have to pretend otherwise. Praise can be sweet. Support can be precious. Encouragement can change a difficult day. But it no longer has to serve as your license to exist fully. You can enjoy approval without depending on it for identity. You can receive reassurance without making reassurance your oxygen. You can feel grateful when someone believes in you without concluding that their belief created your worth. The flame existed before the applause. It remains after the room becomes quiet. Now another question begins. What happens when the smaller hands stop reaching outward long enough to close around the warmth? At first, they may not know how to hold it. They may cup too tightly. They may fear losing it. They may look up as if asking whether they are doing it correctly. Your grown hands do not disappear. They stay near. This is not a transfer from one stranger to another. Both pairs of hands belong to you, the part that has learned, the part that still fears, the part that can choose, the part that wants reassurance, the part that knows, the part that asks. They do not need to fight for control. They can become one relationship. This changes the meaning of self-trust. You are not trying to remove your vulnerable parts from the decision. You are bringing them with you. A younger fear can say, "I am scared they will be upset." Your grown self can answer, "I hear you. We will be thoughtful." The fear can say, "What if we are wrong?" The grown self can answer, "Then we will learn." The fear can say, "What if they leave?" The grown self can answer, "We will pay attention to what is safe, what is respectful, and what support we need." The fear can say, "Can we wait?" Sometimes the answer will be yes. Sometimes waiting is wise. Sometimes more information is needed. Sometimes rest is needed. Sometimes the right decision becomes clearer after the urgency passes. Self-permission includes permission not to rush. That may sound strange in a script about moving, but movement is not the same as speed. A life can move because you finally stop resisting the truth that you need time. A life can move because you stop forcing an answer. A life can move because you admit that something is finished. A life can move because you acknowledge what you want. A life can move because you ask for help. A life can move because you stop pretending that waiting for unanimous approval is preparation. Sometimes the most important movement is internal alignment. Your thoughts, values, limits, and actions begin facing the same direction. That creates energy. You no longer have one part wanting a change while another part is dedicated to keeping everyone comfortable at any cost. You no longer spend every day negotiating against yourself. The candle steadies between your hands. The smaller hands begin to close around its warmth. The body learns there is a difference between being unsupported and being self-supported. You may still want someone to say, "I believe in you." There is nothing wrong with that. But now another voice becomes possible. Your own. "I believe I can meet what comes." Not control it. Meet it. "I believe I can ask for help." "I believe I can change course." "I believe I can protect what matters." "I believe I can learn." "I believe I can survive another person having a different opinion." This kind of belief is more durable than certainty about outcomes. You cannot know exactly what every choice will bring. You can know how you want to meet yourself inside the process. That is where the vow begins. Not as a dramatic promise, not as a command that must never be broken. A vow is meaningful because it gives direction. When confusion returns, you know which way your hands turn. inward, toward warmth, toward the part of you that spent so long waiting, toward a relationship with yourself that does not depend on perfect decisions. You are not promising that fear will vanish. You are not promising that you will never seek reassurance. You are not promising that no one's opinion will matter. You are choosing where the flame belongs. The words can be plain. They do not need decoration. They come from this image alone. Grown hands, smaller hands, one steady light, a movement inward. I will pass the light into my own hands. Let the meaning settle there, not as a demand, as direction. I will pass the light into my own hands. When the old reflex reaches outward before you have heard yourself, this is the direction. When someone's disappointment makes you question your worth, this is the direction. When you need wise support, you can seek it while keeping this direction. When you change your mind, you can keep this direction. When you choose slowly, the direction remains. When you choose clearly, the direction remains. The vow does not ask you to walk alone. It asks you not to leave your own inner voice outside the room while everyone else decides. The smaller hands are no longer empty. They are beginning to hold what they had been waiting to receive. And as they learn the warmth of their own light, the next part of your life does not need to begin with a dramatic leap. It can begin with the way you carry that light into the next ordinary choice. Not the largest choice of your life. Not the choice everyone will notice. The next one. The next moment when you feel yourself reaching outward before you have checked what is already in your own hands. Maybe someone asks what you want to do this weekend, and your first instinct is to study their expression before answering. Maybe you are invited somewhere and your body already knows it needs rest. Maybe you are asked for a favor you could technically perform, but something in you knows the cost would be higher than you want to admit. Maybe an opportunity appears and excitement rises before fear begins collecting reasons you should stay where you are. Maybe you have been thinking about learning something new, changing a routine, setting a boundary, asking a question, applying for something, ending a pattern, beginning a project, or returning to something you once loved. The old habit may immediately ask, "Who agrees with me?" The new movement asks something else. What is the light in my hand showing me? That does not mean whatever appears first becomes the final answer. It means your own response is no longer excluded from the conversation. You become one of the people whose opinion matters. That may sound obvious. For someone who has spent years organizing life around other people's comfort, it is not obvious at all. It can feel revolutionary to become a participant in your own decisions. You may begin with language. Language changes the way a life is carried. Instead of saying, "I'm sorry, but I can't," you may discover that sometimes "I can't make it" is enough. Instead of, "I hope you're not upset, but I really need tonight to myself," you may find that "I need tonight to myself" contains both truth and respect. Instead of offering 5 reasons for your decision, you may give one. Instead of explaining until the other person agrees, you may explain until you have been clear. There is a difference. Clarity has an ending. Approval seeking keeps talking. It adds another sentence, then another, then another. It thinks the correct combination of words can control the other person's reaction. You may have tried this many times. You choose your words carefully. You are kind. You explain the history. You make sure they know you are not angry. You reassure them that you care. You mention that you understand their position. Then you wait. If they still sound disappointed, the old reflex says you have not explained well enough. So you begin again. But another person's disappointment is not always a communication failure. Sometimes you communicated clearly and they simply do not like the answer. Those are different things. You cannot always solve the second with more words. You can let a clear seeking and tense remain clear. The flame does not become brighter because it argues for its right to burn. It stays where it is. You may have to practice this in very small places before it feels possible in larger ones. Perhaps you choose a restaurant without asking everyone to decide first. At times, you state a preference without adding, "But I don't mind." You might answer, "I need to check my schedule," rather than automatically saying yes. There are days when you take a few hours before replying to a non-urgent message. You might buy the book you want to read instead of the one you think you should be reading. At times, you spend your free afternoon in a way no one else would choose. These things may seem too ordinary to matter. Ordinary choices are where self-trust becomes embodied. Grand declarations can feel powerful for a day. Daily choices teach the body what is actually changing. The body learns through what you repeatedly do. When you stop explaining every harmless preference, the body learns that preference is not a threat. When you make a responsible decision without polling everyone, the body learns that you can tolerate uncertainty. When someone disagrees and you remain respectful without collapsing, the body learns that disagreement is survivable. When you ask for support without giving away the decision, the body learns that help and agency can coexist. This is how the flame becomes familiar in your hands. You carry it through ordinary rooms, through ordinary conversations, through ordinary mornings, through the moment before you say yes, through the moment before you say no, through the moment you change your mind, through the moment someone looks surprised. You do not have to become a different person all at once. You are becoming more visible to yourself. That is enough. There may be a situation in your life right now where you already know what this means. Not necessarily a decision with one obvious answer. It may only be a place where you have been postponing honesty. You know you are tired of something. You know you want more information. You know a limit needs to be named. You know you have been pretending not to care. You know you keep checking for someone else's permission. You know there is a sentence you have not let yourself finish. You do not need to finish it here. You do not need to act before you are ready. Just stop interrupting the sentence. Let your own thought exist long enough to be heard. That itself is movement. You may discover that what you need is not action yet. It may be preparation. There is dignity in preparation. The flame can show you what needs tending before you move. If you want to change work, you may need information, savings, training, support, or time. If you want to leave an unsafe or harmful situation, you may need a careful safety plan and trustworthy support. If you want to repair a relationship, you may need a conversation and the willingness to hear something difficult. If you want a stronger boundary, you may need to decide what you will actually do when the boundary is ignored. If you want to begin a new project, you may need an hour on the calendar instead of one more month of thinking. Permission does not replace preparation. It makes preparation yours. You stop preparing to convince everyone. You begin preparing to live responsibly with what you choose. That shift saves energy. It may also bring grief. Sometimes self-permission reveals how long you have waited. You look back and think of opportunities you postponed, words you swallowed, rest you delayed, changes you knew you needed, versions of yourself you kept hidden because someone might not understand. Be careful here. Do not use new awareness as a weapon against your past. You were not standing then with the same understanding you have now. The smaller hands were still waiting. They were following what they knew. There is no healing in turning toward them with anger and saying, "Why did you waste so much time?" They were protecting connection. They were protecting belonging. They were protecting what they believed safety required. Your grown hands do not need to punish them for that. They can bring the flame closer. They can say, in the language of warmth, "We know something different now." That is enough. You do not recover lost years by spending the present hating the person you were. You honor them by using what they taught you. They may have taught you how painful silence can become. They may have taught you what happens when you ignore exhaustion. They may have taught you that constant approval does not create inner peace. They may have taught you that being chosen by everyone is impossible. They may have taught you that belonging which requires self-erasure is too expensive. They may have taught you how much courage it takes to begin again. Use the lesson. Leave the punishment. The flame is for seeing, not for burning the past. There is a softer way to move. You can look back and say, "I understand why I waited." Then look forward and say, "I do not need the same permission now." That sentence carries no violence, no rejection, no demand that you become fearless, only recognition that the present has different resources. You are older than the part of you that first learned to wait. You have language now. You have choices now that you may not have had before. You can seek informed help. You can ask better questions. You can recognize manipulation more quickly. You can leave some conversations. You can say, I need time. You can say, I do not agree. You can say, I need another option. You can say, I changed my mind. You can say, this is not right for me. You can say, I need support. The words are ordinary. The inner change is not. There may also be people who surprise you. You may have imagined that your growth would disappoint them, and they may understand more than you expected. You may set a boundary and discover relief on both sides. You may tell the truth and find that someone was waiting for honesty too. You may make a choice and learn that the people you feared disappointing were never asking you to shrink as much as you imagined. Not every cage is built by another person. Some are built from predictions. A look remembered from years ago, a tone you learned to fear, a rule nobody has repeated in decades, a role that once existed but no longer does. This is why present reality deserves to be checked. Do not assume every person will respond as they once did. Do not assume every old rule still exists. Give people the opportunity to meet the person you are now. And if they cannot, that information matters too. Either way, you see more clearly. The flame is not a story about controlling outcomes. It is a story about seeing what is here. Sometimes what is here is beautiful. Sometimes it is disappointing. Sometimes it is complicated. You can meet what is real more effectively than what is imagined. The old habit often lives in imagined reactions. You decide not to speak because you can already hear what they might say. You do not ask because you imagine the answer. You do not apply because you imagine rejection. You do not rest because you imagine judgment. You do not begin because you imagine embarrassment. There are times when your prediction will be correct. There are also times when you are living inside a conversation that has never happened. Self-permission gives reality a chance. It lets you take the responsible step required to find out, not the reckless step, not the largest step, the honest one. Send the application, ask the question, look at the information. Have the conversation in a safe context. Take the class, write the page, make the appointment. Say you need time. Turn down the invitation. Ask for another opinion. Begin where you actually are. This is how a life begins to move before there is any dramatic evidence from the outside. Something inside stops waiting for universal agreement. Energy that used to circle around permission becomes available for participation. You start using that energy to prepare, choose, learn, create, rest, repair, protect, or begin. Your life may not look different overnight, but your relationship to it changes. That relationship matters. A person can have many possibilities and still feel trapped if every possibility needs someone else's blessing. Another person can have only a few options and still feel a growing sense of agency because they are learning to see what is theirs to choose. Agency is not control over everything. You do not control every outcome. You do not control other people. You do not control chance. You do not control every limitation. Agency is the ability to recognize where your participation exists. Where can I speak? Where can I ask? Where can I stop? Where can I prepare? Where can I seek support? Where can I choose? Where can I learn? Where can I accept what is not mine to control? These questions return the flame to your hands. There is strength in knowing both your power and its limits. You are not responsible for making everyone happy. You are responsible for how you treat people. You are not responsible for preventing all disappointment. You are responsible for honesty where honesty is appropriate. You are not responsible for predicting the entire future. You are responsible for considering what you reasonably can. You are not responsible for becoming invulnerable. You are responsible for taking your well-being seriously. You are not responsible for making other people understand every part of you. You are responsible for listening when misunderstanding reveals something worth clarifying. This balance is where self-trust becomes mature. It has room for both compassion and boundary, both courage and caution, both connection and self-respect. You do not have to choose one side and destroy the other. The flame can be carried in two hands, firm enough to protect it, open enough to feel its warmth. Imagine carrying that posture into your day. Your forehead does not need to hold every possible outcome. Let the mind loosen its argument with tomorrow. Your eyes do not need to keep scanning faces for evidence that you are acceptable. Let them look at what is actually in front of you. Your jaw does not need to rehearse every explanation. Your voice can be clear without being defended into exhaustion. Your throat does not need to swallow every honest sentence. You can speak when speaking is wise. You can remain quiet when quiet is truly your choice. Your shoulders do not need to carry the emotional response of every person you love. Their feelings can matter without becoming your entire burden. Break time to threes. Your chest can make room for both care and self-respect. Your hands can stop reaching automatically towards someone else for the answer. Let them remember the warmth they are learning to hold. Your stomach does not need to interpret every disagreement as danger. You can take time. You can gather information. Your back does not need to bend beneath every expectation you have inherited. Some expectations can be examined. Some can be released. Your hips can hold you where you are. Your legs can move when movement is yours to choose. Your feet do not need to know the entire road. They need the next place to stand. Carry the light there. That is enough for today. No dramatic reinvention. No pressure to become someone who never doubts. No demand that every decision become easy. Demand that only this. Before your hands reach outward, remember what they are already holding. Before you ask for the verdict, hear yourself. Before you explain, ask whether explanation is actually needed. Before you shrink your desire, give it a moment of honest attention. Before you say yes, let yourself know what the yes costs. Before you say no, let yourself know what the no protects. Your own presence changes the quality of every choice. You are no longer absent from the room. That may be the permission you have been waiting to feel. Not permission to do whatever you want without consequence. Permission to be included in your own life. There is a dignity in that, a tenderness too, because the smaller hands within you do not need to become grown hands overnight. They can remain what they are, sensitive, hopeful, a little afraid. You do not need to exile that part to become strong. Your grown hands can hold the flame near them. They can learn together. One part feeling, one part discerning, one part remembering, one part choosing, all of it belonging to you. You may even discover that the vulnerable part of you carries wisdom the adult part has ignored. It knows when something feels cold. It knows when you are pretending. It knows when you are exhausted from being agreeable. It knows when praise feels strangely empty because it was earned by hiding. It knows when a room does not feel safe. It knows when you are hungry for warmth. The grown self does not dismiss these signals. It investigates them. It asks what they mean now. This partnership is self-trust, not one perfect inner voice. A relationship. You listen. You interpret. You check facts. You seek support when needed. You choose. You learn. You return. The vow belongs here again, not as repetition for repetition's sake, but as a direction you can recognize when the old habit becomes loud. I will pass the light into my own hands. The words do not promise that nobody else will matter. They do not ask you to carry everything alone. They remind you where your own life must also be held. I will pass the light into my own hands. And once the light is there, you can share it without begging someone else to return it to you. You can love more freely when love is not being used as a permission system. You can receive advice without resentment. You can appreciate encouragement without becoming dependent on applause. You can let another person have a different preference. You can let yourself have yours. The space between two people does not have to be filled with agreement in order to contain respect. That may change the way you relate to conflict. Conflict does not always mean something has gone wrong. Sometimes two people want different things. Sometimes values differ. Sometimes timing differs. Sometimes one person needs closeness and another needs space. Sometimes a boundary exposes incompatibility. Sometimes a conversation leads to compromise. Sometimes there is no compromise that honors both people, and a decision becomes necessary. Self-trust helps you remain present in that reality. It does not guarantee comfort. It can support honesty. There are times when the light in your hands will show you a truth you wish were different. A relationship cannot continue in the same way. A goal no longer belongs to you. A plan needs to change. A role has become too small. An expectation is impossible. An apology is needed. You need to ask for help. You need to begin again. Permission does not make these truths painless. It keeps you from adding self-betrayal to the pain. That is enough. You do not have to enjoy every truth. You can grieve and still trust yourself. You can miss someone and still keep a boundary. You can feel disappointed and still know a decision was necessary. You can love what was and still move toward what is. The flame can accompany grief too. It is not only for bold beginnings. Sometimes it helps you see what must be released from your hands so they can carry something else. No force, no dramatic gesture, only honesty. There is another ordinary place where permission matters: joy. Some people find it easier to authorize struggle than pleasure. They can work without permission, care for everyone without permission, worry without permission, prepare without permission. But joy feels as then. It requires a reason. Rest requires accomplishment. Pleasure requires productivity. Celebration requires proof that the result is impressive enough. You may postpone simple goodness until the correct conditions arrive. You can question that rule. You can enjoy an afternoon that does not improve you. You can laugh before every problem is solved. You can wear something beautiful on an ordinary day. You can cook something you love because you want it. You can enjoy your own company without turning solitude into a lesson. You can receive a good moment without asking whether you have earned it. The light in your hands is not only permission to leave, it is permission to live. That is a fuller movement, not merely away from what hurts, toward what nourishes, toward truth, toward curiosity, toward meaningful work, toward people who can meet your honesty, toward rest, toward creative expression, toward a quieter mind, toward a life in which your own voice is not always the last one consulted. You do not need to know exactly what that life looks like. You build it in ordinary decisions. This one, then another, then another. The sentence length of your life begins to change. Less explaining, more knowing. Less pleading, more choosing. Less waiting, more presence. The flame steadies, the smaller hands warm. Your grown hands stay near. You may want one word to carry from this point forward. Not a word chosen for you. Your word. the quality you want to place into your own hands now. It might be trust. It might be courage, clarity, rest, enough, truth, freedom, patience, worth, movement. Choose the word that feels alive for you, not the one that sounds most impressive. If you want to make it visible, you can place that one word in the comments, not as a promise you must perform, not as evidence for anyone else, as a small marker of what you are choosing to carry. One word, your word. Then return to the flame. I trust the light in my own hands, and I am ready to move. I can hear myself. I can take my time. I can seek wise support. I can choose with care. I can change my mind. I can respect my limits. I can speak clearly. I can let others disagree. I can learn. I can begin. I can stop. I can rest. I can ask. I can decide. Eat time. 2 point. My voice belongs here. My needs can be heard. My boundaries can be clear. My choices can be thoughtful. My pace can be mine. I carry my own light. I tend what matters. I listen inward. I move with care. I trust what I learn. I honor what I know. I welcome support. I keep my agency. I choose with warmth. I hold the flame. My hands are ready. The light is near. Warmth is here. I am here. I can move. And the smaller hands that once reached automatically toward the outside world are beginning to do something new. They are beginning to close around the warmth. At first, that may feel almost unfamiliar. The hands that learn to reach outward have spent years waiting for a signal, a nod, a reply, a softened face, a sentence that sounded like approval. They became skilled at reading what lived outside them because that skill once helped them feel connected, accepted, or safe. Now the warmth is closer than the old signal. It is not louder. It does not compete. It does not announce that you have finally become fearless. It rests in the place where your own attention meets your own life. This is what the smaller hands are learning to hold. Not certainty, not control, not a guarantee that every choice will work the way you hope. They are learning to hold participation, your participation, You are here now. You are no longer standing outside your own life asking whether you may enter. There may still be moments when the old posture returns. You may still send the message and immediately wonder whether you said too much. You may still make a decision and then search someone else's face for reassurance. You may still feel guilty after choosing rest. You may still over-explain a boundary you had every right to set. You may still hear a familiar voice inside asking whether you are allowed to want what you want. That does not erase what has changed. A pattern can return without becoming your ruler again. You can recognize it. You can feel your hands reaching outward. Then you can remember the warmth. The movement inward does not need to be perfect to be real. Think of how a child learns to carry something delicate. At first, every step is conscious. The hands are careful. The eyes keep checking. The whole body seems involved in protecting what has been received. Later, carrying becomes natural. You do not think about every movement. Your hands know. Self-trust can become like that. At first, you may have to remind yourself not to ask 5 people before making a small choice. You may have to catch the apology that appears before a reasonable no. You may have to sit with the discomfort that comes when someone does not immediately approve. You may have to tell yourself that uncertainty is not evidence of failure. Then, over time, another way of moving begins to feel more familiar. You hear advice and still hear yourself. You love someone and still remain clear. You need support and still retain your agency. You make a mistake and still remain worthy of your own respect. You change direction without turning the change into shame. You begin to understand that self-permission is not a single brave act. It is a way of standing inside your own life. That is why the flame was never meant to become a spectacle. It belongs close to the hands, close enough to warm them, close enough to illuminate what is real, close enough to remind you that light does not require an audience in order to be light. There will be days when your choice is obvious. There will be days when it is not. On the obvious days, you can move. On the uncertain days, you can wait with dignity rather than waiting for permission. Those are not the same kind of waiting. Waiting for permission says, I cannot trust myself until somebody else makes this safe. Wise waiting says, I need more time, information, support, or clarity before I choose. One removes you from the process. The other includes you deeply. This distinction can change the way you experience hesitation. Not every hesitation is fear. Some hesitation is wisdom asking for a slower look. Not every impulse is truth. Some impulses are old habits asking for familiar relief. Not every discomfort means stop. Some discomfort comes from standing in a new posture. Not every sense of relief means yes. Sometimes relief comes from returning to an old pattern because it is familiar. You can learn these differences without demanding instant mastery. You can become curious about yourself. What happens in your body when something is truly wrong for you? What happens when you are merely afraid of disappointing someone? What does clarity feel like after the first emotional rush settles? Whose voice do you hear when you doubt yourself? Does that voice belong to the present, or is it carrying an old rule into a new room? Questions like these do not weaken self-trust. They deepen it. You are not trying to become someone who never asks questions. You are becoming someone who can ask better ones. That is a mature kind of movement. It respects complexity. It respects consequences. It respects your own humanity. There may be a part of you that wants to know when this becomes easy. There is no honest promise that every decision becomes easy. Some choices matter because they are difficult. Some boundaries ache because you love the person on the other side of them. Some beginnings are exciting and frightening at the same time. Some endings bring relief and grief together. Some acts of self-respect are quiet enough that nobody else notices, while inside you they rearrange everything. Ease is not the only evidence of alignment. Sometimes alignment feels like sadness without self-betrayal. Sometimes it feels like fear with a clear next step. Sometimes it feels like saying no and then caring for yourself through the guilt that follows. Sometimes it feels like asking for help before you are in crisis. Sometimes it feels like admitting that the dream you used to defend no longer belongs to you. Sometimes it feels like letting yourself want something again. The light in your hands does not promise a life without complexity. It gives you a place from which to meet complexity. That is enough. You do not need a prophecy about everything that happens next. You do not need someone to promise that every door will open. You do not need the universe to prove your worth through a perfect outcome. Your worth is not a reward waiting at the end of correct decisions. It belongs before the choice, during the choice, after the choice, even when you revise, even when you need help, even when someone does not understand, even when you are still learning. This matters because approval seeking often turns life into an exam. Every decision feels graded. Every reaction feels like a score. Every disagreement feels like a deduction. Every mistake feels like evidence that you should have listened to someone else. But you are not taking an exam in being human. There is no perfect answer sheet hidden from you. You are participating in a living process. You gather what you know. You seek what you need. You choose as responsibly as you can. You respond to what comes. You learn. You adjust. You keep becoming. The smaller hands can carry the flame through all of that. They do not need to hand it back whenever uncertainty appears. This is the part the old pattern may resist most. It may say, if I cannot be sure, I should give the decision away. But another truth is available now. You can be unsure and still remain present. You can be unsure and ask for expertise. You can be unseen, endure and delay responsibly. You can be unsure and take one reversible step. You can be unsure and say no for now. You can be unsure and still refuse to let fear erase your voice. That is not weakness. That is discernment, learning how to breathe inside real life. Return to the hands. The grown hands are still there. The smaller hands are still there. The flame is between them. Now look closely at what has changed. At the beginning, the smaller hands were open toward the outside world. They were waiting to receive authority. Now they are cupped around warmth that came from within the same life. They are no longer empty. They are no longer only waiting. They are learning how to carry. This is the answer to the smaller question that opened halfway through your journey. What happens when those hands stop reaching outward and close around the warmth? They discover that receiving your own support does not isolate you from love. It changes the way you meet love. You no longer need every relationship to function as a permission office. You can come to people as a person, not as an applicant. You can ask for perspective instead of a verdict. You can ask for comfort instead of authorization. You can ask for information instead of identity. You can let another person's wisdom strengthen your thinking without replacing it. You can let someone love you without asking them to become the keeper of your inner light. That makes connection freer. It can make your yes more honest because it is not purchased by fear. It can make your no cleaner because it is not loaded with hidden resentment. It can make your generosity warmer because you are choosing it. It can make your support of others more respectful because you understand that they too need room for their own hands around their own lives. Self-permission does not only change how you treat yourself, it can change how you treat other people. When you stop needing to control their approval, you may become less tempted to control their choices. You can say, "I would choose differently," and still respect their right to decide. You can offer concern without becoming authority. You can share experience without turning experience into a command. You can love without confusing love with ownership. The lesson moves outward because it has finally been received inward. This is how the flame can be shared without being surrendered. Your light does not become smaller because another person carries theirs. Their disagreement does not extinguish yours. Your agreement does not create theirs. Two people can stand near each other with different hands, different histories, different choices, and still meet with respect. That is a different kind of closeness, less dependent on sameness, more capable of truth. You may discover that this is what you wanted all along, not to stop caring, to stop disappearing in order to care, not to become independent of love, to become more honest inside love, not to reject guidance, to receive guidance without surrendering authorship, not to become fearless, to become less governed by the fear of disapproval. The light in your hands supports that movement. and movement is the promise that has been waiting beneath all of these words. Your life does not have to remain frozen while you wait for someone else's certainty. It can begin to move through your participation now. A conversation can move because you speak more clearly. A plan can move because you finally research it. A boundary can move because you decide what it means in practice. A dream can move because you give it 1 hour instead of another month of debate. A season can move because you stop demanding that the previous version of you approve the person you are becoming. Your life may move slowly. Slow movement is still movement. Your life may move inward before anyone sees the difference. Inner movement is still movement. Your life may move by becoming simpler, by doing less, by explaining less, by choosing fewer things more honestly, by refusing what drains you, by asking for support sooner, by taking your own signals seriously. Movement does not always look like expansion. Sometimes it looks like returning to what matters. Sometimes it looks like setting something down. Sometimes it looks like protecting one small flame from too many hands. You know more now about what self-permission is not. It is not recklessness. It is not isolation. It is not refusing help. It is not believing every feeling is an instruction. It is not pretending consequences do not matter. It is not forcing confidence. It is not using spiritual language to deny reality. It is not blaming yourself for what happened to you. It is not staying where you are harmed in order to prove that you are peaceful. It is not becoming so strong that you never need anyone. Self-permission is quieter. It is letting yourself exist inside the decision. It is giving your own experience weight. It is seeking wise support without making yourself invisible. It is knowing that boundaries can be loving. It is trusting that learning does not make you unworthy. It is turning the hands inward when you remember that you have been waiting for a verdict only you can finally stop requesting. You can still be tender. You can still ask. You can still care. You can still change. You can still need. You can still belong. The flame asks for none of those things to disappear. It asks only to be carried. Carry it into the next conversation. Carry it into the next decision. Carry it into the place where you usually apologize too quickly. Carry it into the place where you usually wait too long. Carry it into the moment you are tempted to make another person's reaction the definition of your worth. Carry it into the silence after you say what is true. Carry it into uncertainty. Carry it into rest. Carry it into preparation. Carry it into support. Carry it into your own hands. The change may become especially clear in the roles you have carried for a long time. Perhaps you have been the dependable one, the calm one, the one who makes things easier, the one who says yes before anyone has to ask twice, the one who absorbs tension so other people do not have to feel it. Roles like these can contain genuine love. They may reflect beautiful qualities in you. Reliability matters. Kindness matters. Thoughtfulness matters. The problem begins when a quality becomes a contract you never consciously signed. Then, being dependable starts to mean never having a limit. Being calm starts to mean never expressing hurt. Being kind starts to mean never disappointing anyone. Being strong starts to mean never asking for help. Being loving starts to mean always making yourself easier to live with. The light in your hands can help separate the gift from the rule. You can remain dependable and still have a boundary. You can remain kind and still say no. You can remain loving and still need distance. You can remain generous and still choose where your energy goes. You can remain strong and let another person support you. You do not have to destroy the good in an old role in order to stop being trapped by it. This can matter deeply in families because family roles often begin before you have language for them. One child becomes the achiever, another becomes the helper, another becomes the peacekeeper, another becomes the one who needs little. These roles can follow people into adulthood long after the original circumstances have changed. Then a grown person feels guilty for needing something because the old role said they were the one who did not need. A grown person feels selfish for resting because the old role said they were the one who carried more. A grown person fears honest disagreement because the old role said they kept everyone together. You can appreciate what that role once helped you do without making it your permanent identity. The smaller hands may have learned the role first. The grown hands can update it. That is part of passing the light inward. You are saying, without cruelty toward your past, we do not need to earn belonging in exactly the same way anymore. This sentence may bring emotion because old roles are rarely only burdens. They are often tied to praise, closeness, pride, survival, and the way you learn to recognize yourself. If you stop being endlessly available, who are you? If you stop solving everything, who are you? If you stop asking permission, who are you in relationships built around being agreeable? You do not need to answer all of that today. Identity can change slowly. The flame does not demand a new label. It gives you enough light to question the old one. There is freedom in discovering that you are larger than the role that made you acceptable. You can be helpful and tired, capable and uncertain, loving and angry, generous and protective of your time, confident in one area and still learning in another. A person is allowed to contain more than one truth. That complexity does not make you inconsistent. It makes you human. The need for permission often becomes strongest when two truths meet. You love someone and you need a boundary. You are grateful for an opportunity and you know it no longer fits. You care about your family and you want a different life. You appreciate what someone has done for you, and you still disagree with them. You understand why a person behaves as they do, and you still cannot accept the behavior. You can hold both truths without forcing one to erase the other. Understanding does not require surrender. Gratitude does not require lifelong obedience. Love does not require agreement. Compassion does not require access. These are adult distinctions, and they can feel unfamiliar when the smaller hands learned simpler rules. Good people say yes. Loving people forgive quickly. Grateful people do not complain. Strong people handle things alone. Life becomes more truthful when those rules become questions instead of commands. Is this yes honest? Is this forgiveness safe for me? Does gratitude require silence here? Would asking for help be the wiser form of strength? A question creates room. Room lets the flame show you more. You may also notice that self-permission changes the way you respond to praise. Praise can still feel wonderful. You can receive it fully. You do not need to reject approval in order to stop depending on it. When someone says they are proud of you, you can let the words be warm without treating them as proof that your choice was valid. When someone celebrates your boundary, you can appreciate the support without concluding that the boundary would have been wrong if they disliked it. When someone loves your work, you can enjoy that response without making your creative life impossible on the days nobody notices. This is one of the beauty seas, full paradoxes of inner permission. The less approval has to carry, the more freely you can receive it. It no longer has to decide who you are. It can be kindness, nothing more. A compliment can be a compliment. Encouragement can be encouragement. Agreement can be agreement. None of them has to become a certificate allowing you to continue. The same freedom applies to criticism. Criticism can contain useful information without becoming a verdict on your whole self. You can ask, is there something here I need to learn? You can separate tone from content. You can accept the part that is true. You can reject the part that is cruel, inaccurate, or controlling. You can ask another trusted person for perspective when the situation deserves it. You can change course without surrendering your dignity. The flame helps you see criticism rather than kneel before it. That difference can return years of energy to you. How much time has been spent trying to become impossible to criticize? How many choices have been polished until no one could object? How many honest desires have been made smaller because someone, somewhere, might not understand? You cannot build a life beyond all criticism. Even careful choices can be questioned. Even loving boundaries can be disliked. Even responsible change can frighten someone. Your task is not to become uncriticizable. It is to become discerning enough to know what deserves your attention. Some feedback is a gift, some is projection, some reveals a blind spot, some reveals another person's preference, some requires repair, some requires distance. Your hands can hold the light while you decide which is which. This is another reason the flame remains small. A small flame encourages closeness. You have to bring your attention near. You cannot judge your whole life from far away. You look at this choice, this relationship, this fact, this need, this consequence, this next step. The old permission pattern likes sweeping conclusions. If they disagree, I am wrong. If I failed once, I cannot trust myself. If I need help, I am not ready. If I disappoint someone, I am selfish. The light brings you closer to what is actually true. One disagreement does not define you. One mistake does not cancel your judgment forever. Needing help can be evidence that you are taking reality seriously. Disappointing someone can happen even when you have acted with care. Specific truth is often kinder than global shame. It gives you somewhere to move. If you made an error, repair the error. If you need information, gather information. If a boundary needs strengthening, strengthen it. If fear is old, bring the prise and closer. If the answer is not clear, give yourself time. You do not have to turn every difficult moment into a conclusion about your worth. The flame is warm enough to hold truth without turning truth into punishment. There is another place where this new relationship becomes visible, the moment after you make a choice. For years, the hardest part may not have been deciding. It may have been what came next. The replay, the checking, the urge to ask whether you did the right thing, the wish to pull the decision back before anyone had a chance to dislike it. You may know the strange exhaustion of making a reasonable choice and then reopening the case in your mind for hours. You read the message again. You reconstruct the tone. You imagine what they are telling someone else. You wonder whether you should send another explanation. You rehearse an apology for something that may not require one. The flame can meet you there too, after the choice, after the conversation, after the boundary, after you have done what you could. Self-permission includes permission to let a completed moment become complete. If new information arrives, you can respond to it. If repair is needed, you can make repair. If nothing new has happened, you do not have to invent a second trial inside your mind. You can tell the difference between reflection and punishment. Reflection asks, "What can I learn?" Punishment asks the same question until you no longer trust your own memory. Reflection has movement in it. Punishment circles. Reflection can lead to an apology, a correction, a clearer boundary, or peace. Punishment keeps the smaller hands empty because it teaches them that every choice must be reviewed until somebody else agrees. You can interrupt that old review process. You can say, "I have considered this enough for now." You can put the phone down. You can let the other person take the time they need to respond. You can let an unanswered message remain unanswered for a while without filling the silence with stories about your worth. You can let the flame stay with you while another person has their feelings. This may be one of the most freeing forms of self-respect, refusing to turn every gap in communication into a verdict. A delayed reply is a delayed reply. A thoughtful silence may be thoughtful silence. Someone else's discomfort may be theirs to understand. If there is something you need to address, reality will give you something real to address. You do not have to suffer every imagined version first. The same is true when you begin something new. You may take one step and immediately look for evidence that it was the correct step. Did enough people respond? Did it work quickly enough? Did you feel confident enough? Did the first attempt look impressive enough? Old approval habits can follow you into new beginnings by turning every early result into a referendum. The flame teaches patience here. Some choices need time before they can be understood. A new boundary may feel awkward before it feels natural. A new routine may feel clumsy before it becomes supportive. A new creative effort may look small before skill has time to grow. A new way of speaking may sound unfamiliar in your own mouth before it becomes your normal voice. You can give a responsible choice enough time to reveal what it is becoming. That does not mean clinging to something harmful or ignoring clear evidence. It means you stop demanding instant applause as proof that a change is valid. You can observe. You can adjust. You can keep learning. You can let the flame illuminate the next piece rather than demanding that it reveal the entire future. This is also where comparison begins to lose some of its power. Another person's certainty may look brighter from a distance. Their career may appear more settled. Their relationship may appear easier. Their confidence may appear natural. Their decisions may seem to arrive without doubt. You do not live inside their hands. You do not know every fear they carry. You do not know every revision they made privately. You do not know what support held them while they moved. Their light is not a measurement of yours. You can learn from people without using their pace as a weapon against yourself. You can admire someone without turning admiration into evidence that you are behind. Your movement may be quieter. It may be less visible. It may begin with a conversation nobody hears. It may begin with the first time you do not abandon a preference because somebody else prefers something different. It may begin when you finally believe that needing time is not the same as being incapable. It may begin when you stop calling your sensitivity a weakness and start using it as information. It may begin when you stop confusing another person's confidence with authority over you. These are not small changes just because they happen privately. A hand can turn by an inch and change where the light falls. That is enough to see something you could not see before. You may see that the choice in front of you is not actually urgent. You may see that the conversation does need to happen. You may see that you have been asking the wrong person for reassurance. You may see that you already have the answer, but need practical support to act on it safely. You may see that you do not have an answer yet, and that uncertainty deserves space rather than shame. Seeing clearly is movement too. The flame does not push you. It helps you see. And when you can see, your next step can belong more fully to you. The affirmation can return one final time now with less effort around it. I trust the light in my own hands, and I am ready to move. You do not need to press the words into yourself. Let the ones that fit remain. Let the others wait. Nothing has to be memorized. Nothing has to be performed after these words end. You have not missed the meaning if your attention wandered. You have not failed if some part of you is still doubtful. The warmth does not disappear because your mind became busy. You can return to it later in an ordinary moment, at the sink, at your desk, before a reply, before a yes, before a no, before asking again. Your hands know the image now. That is enough. I can hear myself. I can trust slowly. I can choose carefully. I can ask for help. I can change course. I can take my time. I can respect my no. I can honor my yes. I can learn. I can begin. I can stop. I can rest. I can move. My voice matters. My limits matter. My needs matter. My choices matter. My safety matters. My peace matters. My life includes me. I hold my light. I tend my flame. I warm my hands. I trust the warmth. I carry what is mine. I release the verdict. I choose with care. I move with truth. I welcome support. I keep my voice. I keep my choice. I keep the light. Warm hands. Clear eyes. Steady flame. Open life. My light. My hands. My choice. My step. I am here. I am ready. I can move. No permission slip is coming, because no permission slip is required for you to become present in your own life. You can let that truth be quiet. It does not need to make you larger than anyone. It does not need to make anyone else wrong. It does not need to erase your tenderness. It only needs to return you to yourself. The smaller hands have stopped searching the room. They are looking at the flame now. The grown hands are not holding it above them. They are not testing whether the smaller hands deserve it. They are not asking for proof. They are lowering the warmth into reach. The smaller hands close carefully, not in fear, in recognition. They know this warmth. They have been seeking it for years in other voices, other faces, other answers. Now they recognize where it has come from. The same life, the same heart, the same person. You. The division begins to soften. The one who waits and the one who decides are no longer strangers. The one who needs reassurance and the one who can offer steadiness belong to the same inner home. You do not have to destroy the waiting part. You can warm it. You do not have to silence the afraid part. You can listen without handing it the whole future. You do not have to prove strength to the vulnerable part. You can stay truthful with it. This is how the hands become one life again. One life capable of receiving support. One life capable of making choices. One life capable of changing. One life capable of saying, I do not know yet, without feeling powerless. One life capable of saying, I know enough for this step. The flame remains small. That matters. You do not need an enormous fire to change direction. You need enough light to see the next honest place to stand. Enough warmth to stop treating yourself like an outsider. Enough trust to include your own voice. Enough courage to let another person have their reaction. Enough wisdom to ask for help when help is needed. Enough humility to revise when new truth arrives. Enough self-respect to stop confusing agreement with worth. This is not the end of every doubt. It is a different relationship with doubt. Doubt can sit nearby without holding the flame. Fear can speak without making every decision. Love can matter without requiring self-erasure. Advice can matter without becoming authority. Past mistakes can teach without becoming a sentence. Your life can move without becoming rushed. Your life can move because you are finally inside it. This is the promise you were reaching for. Not that everything outside you changes at once. That something within you no longer has to remain suspended while waiting for external approval. The movement is already here in the way you listen, in the way you pause before explaining, in the way you let your own answer exist. In the waish, you prepare instead of pleading. In the way you ask for support without giving yourself away. In the way you let truth be enough to consider. In the way you let yourself take one step, your pace, your hands, your light. All is well. You do not need to chase the old signal anymore. You do not need to keep your palms empty in case someone else decides you have earned warmth. You can carry what has been yours to tend. You can bring it forward without forcing the future. You can let it illuminate only what is here. One choice, one boundary, one question, one honest step. The grown hands can loosen now, not because the smaller hands are alone, because they are no longer separate. The warmth has been received. The flame is steady. Your life can move from here. The light is in your hands now.